Hello dear students, welcome to online lecture series, Department of Chemistry, KTHM College, Nasik. So friends, in our previous lecture, we started our discussion about the thermal techniques, the analytical techniques in which the properties of the material are studied as a function of change in a time or a temperature is known as a thermal technique. It means the analysis is carried out under the influence of change in a temperature. On the basis of different principles, the thermal techniques are categorized into the different category. The first one was the TGA, thermogravimetric analysis. In thermogravimetric analysis, the weight change of the substance is monitored as a function of time or temperature. Our second method was the DTA, differential thermal analysis. Here, the temperature difference between the sample and the reference material is monitored as a function of time or temperature. So friend, in the present lecture, we are going to continue our discussion, and therefore in the present lecture, we are talking about the third important thermal technique, that is the DSC, differential scanning calorimetry. So our today's task of a discussion is DSC, differential scanning calorimetry, differential scanning calorimetry. The differential scanning calorimetry is the analytical technique in which the difference in heat flow, that is the enthalpy change between the sample and reference, is monitored as a function of time or temperature. The analytical technique in which difference in heat flow, that is enthalpy change, of a sample and a reference material is monitored as a function of time or a temperature. In fact, the heat flow is expressed in terms of heat capacity. Heat flow is directly proportional to Cp. Cp is nothing but the heat capacity. So student, heat capacity is also one of the physical property which is a characteristic property of the every material. The heat capacity is given by the ratio of amount of heat supplied per unit time and the change in temperature with respect to time. If you solve it, we will get Q upon delta T. And therefore, if you plot a graph of heat supplied and the change in a temperature, that is the heat flux with respect to temperature, we will get such a type of curve, and from the slope of this curve we will get heat capacity. So student, it was an account about the definition. If you think about the principles of this technique, here we are going to heat the sample as well as a reference, and the temperature difference between the sample and reference is kept constant. Just imagine we are going to heat a sample and the reference material. When we provide a temperature, at that time some physical or chemical changes are taking place in the sample. The physical and chemical changes may be the exothermic or endothermic. Now depending upon that, the heat flow, or you can say the heat content, that is the enthalpy of the sample, will be the different than the enthalpy of the reference material. But our condition is that we have to keep the temperature difference between the sample and reference constant, and therefore we have to change the power to the sample material. Now from that temperature, from that power which is required to maintain the temperature constant between the sample and the reference material is measured, and this power is then converted into the enthalpy, and which will give a corresponding output over here. This part we will discuss little bit in detail when we will discuss about the instrumentation. So student, it was an account about the definition and principle of a differential scanning calorimetry. You just record this definition by screenshot. Now the instrumentation. Instrumentation. The DSC instrumentation consists of a two compartment, or you can say the two sample holders. One contains a sample, another contains a reference material. So these are the suppose sample pan, this is your a reference pan. The sample pan as well as a reference pan is provided with a separate heater. The temperature difference, that is the delta T between sample and reference, is recorded over here. Obviously these both heaters are again connected with the different power supply. This is the power. The different power will be required for the different heater, because in order to keep the temperature constant, different heating will be required for the sample or the reference, and obviously in order to change the heating rate, the different power will be required for that. These powers are then connected to the output, and this output is obtained in the form of chart, or you can say the graph. We will get a graph over here. Obviously the graph is in the form of heat flux, versus varied temperature. Both the heaters are provided with a linear heating rate. They are provided with linear heating rate. Similarly for this heater also. Heat controller is provided over here. It will be equal to dt upon means change in temperature upon dt. So this is an overall about the instrumentation. As per the discussion, this is your sample pan, this is your reference pan. We are going to provide a heat to the sample or a reference one. Generally the reference pan is kept empty as an aluminium foil, and in the sample pan the analyte is kept, that is the material which is to be analyzed is kept. When we provide a heat to the sample, due to the heat energy or temperature, some physical and chemical changes takes place in the sample. These physical transformation or the chemical transformation is either exothermic or endothermic, and therefore the heat is utilized to perform a certain work in the sample. So the heat content of the sample or the temperature of the sample will be the less, obviously, in comparison with the reference, but we have to keep the temperature difference constant, and therefore more heat is required to provide for the sample holder. It means the maximum or more power will be utilized, and that power difference will be measured over here, and this power is then converted into the corresponding enthalpy. Actually, if we think about the important components of this instrument, the first important component is the sample holder. Important component. Important component. First important component is a sample holder. Sample holder. Generally, the sample holder is made up of aluminium or platinum. It is made up of aluminium or platinum, depending upon the nature of the material, means the physical state of the material, and the study which we have to do over here, the different shape, size of the sample holder is chosen. The second important component is the sensor. Second important component is the sensor. The sensor is placed at the bottom of sample pan and reference pan, which measures the accurate temperature of the sample as well as a reference. Generally, the thermocouple sensor is used for that purpose. Thermocouple. The third component is the furnace. Furnace is also one of the important component of this instrument. The role of the furnace is to provide a uniform and constant temperature to the sample holder as well as a reference holder. The different types of furnaces are used depending upon the type of differential scanning calorimetry. This part will be the clear when we will discuss about the types of differential scanning calorimetry. Normally, the furnace is having a single block in a heat flux DSC, and in power compensation DSC it has a two separate blocks. Our next fourth important component is temperature program controller. Temperature program controller. Again, depending upon the type of a differential scanning calorimetry, either power compensation or the heat flux DSC, the role of the temperature program controller is a different one. In case of power compensation, the constant temperature is provided. So the role of a controller is to provide constant and uniform temperature. In heat flux DSC, temperature is increased linearly. So in this case, the role of a temperature controller is to provide linear temperature, linear rising temperature to the corresponding furnace. So student, it was an account about the instrumentation of a differential scanning calorimetry. You just took a screenshot. Now the type of a DSC. Types of a DSC. Basically, there are two different types of a DSC. First is nothing but the power compensation DSC, and second is heat flux DSC. Two types of a differential scanning calorimetries are there. In case of a power compensation DSC, the delta T is kept constant. Delta T means the change in temperature is kept constant. However, in heat flux DSC, the delta T is varied linearly. In power compensation DSC, the sample and reference is heated separately. Here, the sample and the reference is heated separately. And as they are heated separately, it means that they are provided with a separate heater. Whereas in heat flux DSC, both the sample and reference are heated in a single panel, means simultaneously. So the single heater is provided for both the sample as well as a reference material. So as per as the discussion, as in power compensation DSC, both the sample pan as well as the reference pan is heated separately. It gives a better resolution. It gives better resolution. Whereas the heat flux DSC is more sensitive and gives a result having a low resolution. So it is more sensitive and gives results with a low resolution. So student, this is the basic difference between power compensation DSC and heat flux DSC. You just record it so that we will proceed towards the thermogram. Now the thermogram, we call it as a DSC curve. From the instrument, we will get output as a result in the form of a curve or a plot. The plot is a heat flux versus a time or a temperature. So the nature of a graph will be in this way. This is your heat flux. Here we will record with respect to time or temperature. Probably temperature will be considered over here, because as per as the discussion, we are monitoring the physical and chemical properties of the substance as a function of a temperature. Here we will get such a type of a curve. The upward peak indicates that more heat will be required to keep the temperature difference constant for the sample material, and it indicates that the corresponding process is exothermic, whereas the downward peak indicates that the corresponding process is endothermic. It means that from the nature of a curve, we can predict the nature of a process, either physical transformation or chemical transformation, whether it is an exothermic or endothermic. Means we can study the exothermicity or endothermicity of the material when we are going to heat it. So this is an important conclusion which we will get from the DSC curve. Second thing is that the area under the peak is directly proportional to the heat absorbed or heat evolved during the transformation. And therefore, from the area under the peak, we can determine the amount of heat absorbed or amount of heat released during corresponding process. Next thing is that height of the peak. Height of the peak is also one of the characteristic property, and which is corresponds to the rate of the reaction. As per as our definition of a DSC, we studied that this is an analytical technique in which the difference in enthalpy change of the sample and reference material is monitored as a function of a time or temperature. And therefore, in order to express our result in terms of enthalpy, the equation is used. The enthalpy change delta H is equal to K into A. Here K is nothing but the calorimetric constant. K is nothing but the calorimetric constant. A is nothing but the area under peak. and the area under peak is proportional to area under peak is proportional to heat absorbed or evolved, and similarly height of the peak is proportional to the rate of reaction. So mind well, this is an important one in order to examine the material. Exothermicity, which will give the positive peak. Endothermic process will give a negative peak. Area under the peak is directly proportional to the heat absorbed or heat released, and the height of the peak is proportional to the rate of reaction. So student, you just record this data. Now the factors affecting on a DSC curve. As per as the discussion, we will get upward peak for exothermic process and downward peak for the endothermic process. But student, beside that, there are some instrumental factors and some sample characteristic which affect on the nature of a DSC curve. So now we will talk about the factors affecting on a DSC curve. Factors affecting on DSC curve. So the two important categories of factors are there. First one is the instrumental factor. Instrumental factor. The first instrumental factor is the furnace heating rate. First instrumental factor is furnace heating rate. The high heating rate will never give a better resolution. Heating of the sample and reference with a moderate heating rate, we will give a better resolution, and the sharp peaks in the thermogram. Second factor is recording. It is nothing but the chart speed. As per as our discussion, we saw that in a DSC we got a result in the form of peaks with the help of a strip chart recorder. The recording means the speed of the strip chart will also affect on the nature of a DSC curve. Next one is a furnace atmosphere. Furnace atmosphere. It is nothing but the gases which is used to maintain the atmosphere inside the furnace. Sometimes we are using a nitrogen atmosphere, argon atmosphere, inert atmosphere. So depending upon the furnace atmosphere, we will get a little bit varied DSC curve. Next factor is geometry of the sample holder. and location of a sensor. Geometry of the sample holder depends upon the type of analysis which we are going to carry out. If we are going to study the evolved gases, then obviously we should use a covered deep crucible. If we are going to study the phase transition, the open pan atmosphere, open pan crucible is used. So the geometry of the crucible means the sample holder also affect the nature of a curve. And secondly, the location of the sensor. Whether the sensor is placed at the bottom of a cuvette, means at the bottom of the sample holder, or inside the sample, depending upon that, the accuracy and precision of the DSC curve will be the different one. The next factor is composition of a sample container. Composition of sample container. Generally aluminum or platinum sample holders are preferred for that. Depending upon that, we will get a little bit variation in a DSC curve. Our second type of a factor is the sample characteristics. Sample characteristics. Sample characteristic. First one is amount of a sample, obviously. Amount of a sample. Generally, 2 to 10 milligram sample is sufficient for DSC analysis. The minimum amount of sample will give a better result. 2 to 10 milligram sample will be required. Less amount gives better result. Second is the nature of a sample. Nature of a sample. The crystalline sample will give a more sharp peak than the amorphous sample. Crystalline sample gives sharp peaks. Next one is the sample packing. More packed sample will never give a better result, because if the sample is present in the form of lumps, we are unable to provide a uniform temperature. The outer part will be suffered by more temperature, while the inner part will be having a less temperature. So the sample packing is also important criteria or the important factor which will affect the nature of a DSC. Next one is a particle size. Particle size. Small size particles will give a better result. Small size particle will experience a uniform temperature and therefore it gives a better result. Next one is heat of a reaction. Heat of a reaction. As far as the discussion, we know that depending upon the nature of a reaction, means either exothermic or endothermic, we will get a various type of peaks, upward as well as a downward. And the last factor is the solubility of evolved gases in the sample. Solubility of evolved gases in the sample. We know that when some chemical changes takes place in the sample, certain gases are evolved. small molecules will be evolved in the form of gases such as methanol, carbon dioxide, nitrogen gas, etc., etc. These evolved gases can again get dissolved or can be soluble in the given material, and therefore it will interfere in the DSC curve. So friends, it was an account about the factors affecting on a DSC curve. Now the advantages of a DSC. Advantages. The DSC becomes a more and more popular technique for the thermal analysis. This is because of their high speed, second thing, simplicity, and most important is the availability. So the first advantage is that DSC is more popular because of high speed. Second is the simplicity. And availability. Secondly, the different kind of a sample can be analyzed by DSC, such as solid, liquid, gases, thin films, and environmental materials, for example, nitrogen, oxygen, dinitrogens, sulfur oxides, etc., can be analyzed by using a DSC. So, in different kind of material such as solids, liquids, gases, environmental samples can be analyzed. Next one, third. A wide range of a temperature can be used to analyze the phase transition, means to study the phase transition. A wide range of a temperature can be used to study the phase transitions. Such as glass transition, then crystallization, melting, boiling, etc. Beside these advantages, the DSC has a certain disadvantages also. So what are the disadvantages? The DSC gives less accurate and less precise result due to the other factors such as humidity of atmosphere, atmospheric temperature, then the atmospheric contaminants, etc., etc. So the first disadvantage is that it gives a result with low accuracy and precision due to other factors such as the humidity, second important disadvantage is that the sensitivity and resolution cannot be improved simultaneously. Sensitivity and resolution cannot be improved simultaneously. So it was an account about the advantages and disadvantages. Now what are the applications of a DSC? Applications. Very basically, DSC is used in food science, pharmaceutical industries, and even in the research laboratories. DSC is widely used in food industries, pharmaceutical, industries, and research laboratories. Secondly, it is used for characterizing a various type of a material. Such as food, polymer, plastics, petroleum products, rubber, waxes, paints, pigments, etc. etc. DSC is also used in quantitative analysis because we know that area under the peak is directly proportional to the amount of heat absorbed, and from that we can get a quantitative measurement. So the DSC is used for quantitative analysis. Next one is it is used to determine the phase transition. Such as glass transition temperature, crystallization, melting, etc. etc. It is also used to study the properties of a material. To study the properties of a material. Okay, so friend, you just took a screenshot over here. Okay, so student, in the present lecture, we studied the DSC entirely. We studied the definition, principle, instrumentation, important components, then the advantages, disadvantages, and finally applications of differential scanning calorimetry. It was our third thermal technique. So in the present lecture, we will stop here. In our next lecture, we will talk about the temperature programmed desorption, which is the next thermal technique. Thank you.